Benjamin West and his cat Grimalkin. Chapter 13, An Old Black Coat. Papa, Benjamin questioned as they stood side by side at the wash bench next morning. Could I take as touching Grimalkin? Papa interrupted. Do not worry. I will caution Mama and the girls to see to his happiness. Breakfast had no flavor that morning. No matter how much milk Benjamin poured over his porridge, it seemed to lodge in his throat. He was glad when the meal was over and he could slip out of doors. He watched the travelers load their wagons and set off together in a long, packed train. As they turned out of the yard, Benjamin ran alongside the driver. Should thee some day see a lad of the name of Jacob Ditzler, he said breathlessly, and then stopped in embarrassment. The driver slowed down. And what if we do? He said, not unkindly. Please to tell him that Grimalkin is well and I am going to Philadelphia this day. The man nodded gravely and the women and children stared after Benjamin, making him feel quite important. He strode back toward the courtyard where Uncle Phineas was strapping their knapsacks to his big pacer's saddle, while all of the family looked on. Benjamin felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. It was Mama holding out an old black coat that once had belonged to Brother Samuel. The north wind blows raw and sharp for autumn, she said anxiously. Samuel's coat worn over thy own coat will help to keep thee warm. Benjamin frowned. He did not want to go to Philadelphia wearing two coats, and just when he was about to explain how warm he was, he swallowed his words. He looked at Samuel's coat as if he had never really seen it before. His eyes brightened. How big and roomy is Samuel's coat, he said to himself. Why, it would hold a cat extremely well. He took the coat with a polite thank you and then ran toward the inn, slipping his arms into the sleeves as he ran. I just now remembered something in my room, he explained. He looked back over his shoulder and smiled to see Grimalkin bounding after him. A few moments later he stood breathless at the upping block. I declare, exclaimed Papa, thee looks as stuffed as a pudding bag in Samuel's coat. Benjamin laughed nervously. Grimalkin was a strong, active cat. He was not used to being buttoned inside a coat, and every time he squirmed, he either tickled Benjamin's ribs or sent his claws into Benjamin's flesh. To cover the wriggling motions about his waist, Benjamin folded his arms and scratched himself lightly, trying his best to quiet Grimalkin. Phineas, said Papa, Mom and I have made a list of the things we are needing. Benjamin suddenly looked down in horror. Grimalkin's pink nose peeked out of a buttonhole, which he had left open as a porthole. He glanced around quickly to see if anyone had noticed, but everyone was listening to Papa. Why was it, Benjamin asked himself, that home always looked so good just when he was about to leave it? He had felt the very same way on his first day of school, and on the first day he rode to Miller Clinkenbeard's. Mama mistook Benjamin's searching glance for quite another reason. I must confess, she shook her head, it seems strange that Grimalkin is not here to say goodbye to thee. It is not like him. Papa stood thoughtful a moment. A gopher, likely, he mused. Grimalkin ever was fond of an early morning hunt. At the sound of his name, Grimalkin tried to squeeze out of the little porthole. Quick as a flash, Benjamin clapped his hand over his stomach. Is thee ailing, little wren? Asked Mama. No, Mama, replied Benjamin, his face reddening. I am fine. He appears feverish to me, said Sarah, and from the way he is scratching, he may be breaking out with the measles. The prospect of adventure always brings blood to the traveler's face, Uncle Phineas replied, as he mounted and gave a hand to Benjamin. Is thee comfortable perched behind me? Oh, yes, exclaimed Benjamin in a panic, for Grimalkin was now exploring the back of Samuel's coat and meowing faintly. Let us be off, he begged in a voice loud enough to drown out Grimalkin's cries. Uncle Phineas's horse pawed the ground in agreement. Easy there, cried Uncle Phineas, and the big pacer swung out of the courtyard while the family shouted words that Benjamin could not hear. Benjamin's right hand and forearm were fastened securely about Uncle Phineas's belt. With his left hand, he now unbuttoned 4 more buttons of Samuel's coat. He could feel Grimalkin scrabbling around for an exit. He could see Grimalkin's head peer out like an opossum from its mother's pouch. Benjamin heaved a great sigh of relief. They were safely off at last. Now they could both enjoy the sights and the smells of autumn. "Stroke Grimalkin for me," chuckled Uncle Phineas. "How's thee know?" gasped Benjamin. "Because," laughed Uncle Phineas, "I saw a black tail wave from between the flaps of thy coat as I helped thee mount. I knew thee could not possibly have sprouted a tail so quickly."